And welcome, boys and girls, to another episode of No Choftes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell you know we've got a very special edition because I promised we were going to have a Norwegian football expert that knows about Mr. Rekdal. And here he is, Mats Arntzen. Mats, welcome to the pod, mate. I hope I haven't destroyed
Thank
your
you.
name.
No, I think it was okay. As you said before we started, my name is a bit easier than some of the names from Cyprus. So, yeah,
Yes, for sure.
or for me, it's easier. It's easy for me to say.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us, mate. Really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. But as you know, Mr. Rekdal is the new Omonoia head coach. He replaced a pretty, I'd say, popular coach in Sofrones Avgustin, although I didn't really want him. So when he got the sack, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of happy. But listen, I'm in the 10%. 90% of people wanted him, and the majority of people that I've spoken to believe that he was sacked unfairly. He wasn't given an opportunity. But this is football. This is how it goes. And Mr. Rekdal is in. So, first of all, from a Norwegian's perspective and as a sports writer, a journalist, what did you make of the news when you heard that he joined Omonoia?
I think everyone was a bit surprised because there were no reports before we suddenly saw that Omonia had an official announcement. So it was like, whoa, now. But as I know, Kjetil Rekdal has been working for a while to find a new club, and there's been several, something in Romania, I think something in Bulgaria, that he maybe didn't like, or it didn't happen. So we knew that he was searching for something, and so it was not that big a surprise after like the first shock.
So he's joined the club where we have another Scandinavian sporting director there, Mr. Janssen, who was at Hammarby. Janssen took charge in the summer. We were looking for a sporting director. He's come in. He's brought in quite a few decent players, a couple of youngsters as well, one being Amor, who I'm sure you know from his time at Copenhagen. How do you think these two will coexist?
That would be exciting to see. Kjetil is really result-oriented manager. He's focusing on winning matches and everything. In Rosenborg, he tried because of the economy a bit more to have youngsters, but they're also really impatient. So it was maybe not the best time, not the best match, but we've seen several times before how good he is to get the results. For example, when he took HamKam, a small Norwegian team, to promotion, was really surprising. They were struggling for relegation in the second tier when he took charge, and after the season they went up to the first division. So he did a really good job there. So if he is able to do the same there, I think that would be perfect for him.
Of course, and obviously he has big shoes to fill with obviously Henning Berg, his compatriot, doing very, very well at the club. And Berg was sacked, unfortunately. Again, another coach, which I don't know why they sacked him, to be honest, but that's old news, unfortunately. But we saw the press conference yesterday with Mr. Rekdal, and he was saying a lot of positive things. He wants players to be confident. He wants them to go on the pitch and have pride. And these are two things that perhaps we haven't seen recently with the players. We've seen a lot of players possibly, I wouldn't say hiding, but not reaching the levels that we know that they can be. What would you say is his strength when it comes to developing players, not just youngsters, but the experienced ones who perhaps have dropped off in form, like maybe Lesiaks? Because Lesiaks hasn't been the same player in the last 2 years.
Yeah, historically he's been quite good at getting the best out of players. He won with Vålerenga the last time they won, and they haven't won the Eliteserien since. And that's been some part of Rekdal's management to get the results, small victories, and winning comfortably with also with senior players, with a lot of routine. So that could be a good fit, I think.
I've had some mixed stories about Mr. Rekdal's tactical way of thinking and his playing style. One person told me that he's been used to setting up a system during the week, and then at the weekend he will change it. Another guy's told me, well, expect maybe a 3-5-2. Another one tells me a 4-3-3. It's all conflicting information. We're not too sure. But the one thing I will say that kind of marries up is they all said that he's an outspoken person. He's not afraid to speak his mind. And during yesterday's press conference, he was asked about the previous head coach. He says, I don't talk about it. I don't care. It's not my problem. Is this the kind of character that we're expecting to see? Is he going to be full of, I don't know, entertainment while he's doing his press conferences?
I think he's really honest. He's not afraid to speak. So I think the journalists around will like him very much. He's not afraid to chit chat or to tell his honest opinion about this. About the tactics, I think maybe earlier he changed a lot depending on the opposition. For this last couple of years, he played 3-5-2 or 3-4-3. Depending on who's available and stuff. So maybe you can expect. I'm not sure if he's going to do the same now, or if he's because Omonoia has played with 4 defenders before, I think.
Yes.
So it will be exciting to see if he goes for the same tactic as he had in Rosenborg and HamKam. But for the last couple of years, he and the assistant Geir Frigård, they have worked quite a lot with one formation and been really loyal to this. And in Rosenborg also, they've had long traditions for playing 4-3-3, and he changed this because he wanted his tactics and to be loyal to that.
Brilliant. So staying on the tactics, are we likely to expect maybe attacking fullbacks? Will we see wingers? Will we see pressing? Because these are the things that we saw under the previous head coach, the high press, the high intensity. And he did mention in the press conference yesterday that intensity is key, but we've also seen a lot of injuries as a result of the high intensity. So how do you think he will play in terms of, as I mentioned, with the system, etc.?
I don't think that was his biggest strength at Rosenborg. I think he struggled a bit with to put the high pressure.
Right.
So maybe if he has players that are more adapted to high pressure, maybe that's easier for him. He's really flexible. So if he sees that he has players that can do that, I think maybe he can adapt his tactics a bit more. Earlier he was maybe more comfortable with sitting a bit back, counterattacks. That could also be the reason why he succeeded a lot at HamKam, for example. He had a lot of high-intensity players, and they were strong at the counterattacks. But we'll see. It depends on the players that I don't know too well.
For
So
sure.
it's a bit difficult to say.
For sure. Well, some of the players that you may know Fouad Bashirou, who's at Malmö in Sweden. You may know Jan Lesiaks, who was at Valerenga at some point. Fabiano, the goalkeeper, was at FC Porto. I'm trying to think of Fransson, the central midfielder, who's at FC Basel, another Swedish player. So we do have a few Scandinavian players in the squad, and we do have some experienced players, but we also have quite a few youngsters, and not just from the academy. We have players that have been signed by Mr. Janssen, for example, as I mentioned, Amor and Alium, who came from Hammarby. Again, do you think the model that Omonoia are using at the moment, because as I mentioned before, we haven't had a sporting director in maybe 2 years, and this is a new sporting director in a new environment. He doesn't know the league. So he's bringing in players that obviously either he knows or he's been advised to sign. Do you think Mr. Rekdal will be happy to have players just coming in that perhaps the sporting director is happy with? Or do you think he will have a big part in the decisions when it comes to signing players?
That could be a mix. I think maybe in Rosenborg, maybe it was not the best cooperation between the sporting director and the coach, because we've seen after Rekdal went to another club. I don't know when he got sacked. Sorry, the sporting director started to sell all the players that Rekdal brought in. So the line and the cooperation there was not maybe the best, arguably. So I'm not sure that it could be because of the persons Dorsin and Rekdal, they did not agree about players and etc. So I think he will be able to cooperate more with the new one.
Do you think they knew each other before they had the conversation about coming to the club?
Oof, I should probably know this, but I'm not sure actually. I can check it off
I'm
afterwards.
hoping I'm hoping they knew each other because at least there's a relationship there. You'd think anyway.
Yeah, but
But
I
yeah,
know that I think maybe he knew about his agents also. So
right, that makes sense.
they probably have a relation and in some parts, I think. Yeah.
Mm. You mentioned Rosenborg before and the impatience. Was it from the board or was it from the fans? Because I'll be honest with you, the Omonoia fans, we're probably the most impatient fans in Cyprus because we've had a history of winning titles and there was a long drought and then Mr. Berg won the title and it just seems that we haven't improved since winning the league title 3 years ago. 3 years ago, yeah.
Mm.
So do you think Mr. Rekdal will be used to the criticism if it comes his way and the impatience?
Yeah, he's really used to that. With
Mm,
Rosenborg, they struggle because they've been the best team in Norway for like forever. But for the last 10 years, Molde has stepped up, and for the last 5 years, Bodø/Glimt is there. So they're not the best team anymore. The economy is not as good, so they had to change their profile a bit, try to find themselves in a new way. And at the same time, Rekdal's task was to get them up to maybe win or be top three. So it was a bit conflicting. So I'm not sure where Omonoia is right now, if they're like title contenders. I saw that they
well, we're
were a
we're
few
set
points
we're
behind.
s- we're 7 points behind the league
Yeah.
leaders. 7 points, but we're actually level with the two teams above us. So there is
Mm,
still a chance we could at least challenge for European places, and
mm,
we're still in the cup as well.
mm. Yeah, so maybe the his starting position is better at Omonoia than it was in Rosenborg. So that gives him a bit hope, hopefully. And I think
Yep.
maybe he thinks that since Henning Berg did it, he can do it as well. He's a bit
Right.
like that. So yeah, his former teammates made it. So how hard could it be?
Oh well, yeah. He doesn't know Cyprus yet. Trust me, he doesn't know Cyprus yet. Well, I mentioned the experienced players, and I think I'd say maybe the last 2 years, a lot of the supporters have been rather unhappy with how some of the experienced players haven't become leaders. We've got a lot of international players, one of them being Adam Lang, who is a Hungarian international. We have various other internationals, but I think one of the biggest criticisms from the supporters is that the leadership hasn't been there from the older players. Now, do you think Mr. Rekdal can bring that out of the experienced players to be those leaders, the people on the pitch to pull someone to the side and say, you're not performing, you need to be
Yeah,
better?
I think so. And if not, I don't think he's afraid to take some hard choices, to take some tough decisions. So yeah, that is some of his best strengths, I think. Mm.
Well, that's important. And I think the other thing that I need to mention to you, and obviously for everyone that's watching, who already know this, Cyprus is a very small island. So everyone knows each other in some way, and stories end out in the media. Unfortunately, there are people at certain clubs that like to leak stories into the press, and the clubs need to react straight away to it. Do you think this is something that Mr. Rekdal is perhaps used to or would know how to deal with this? Because look, his announcement was a shock to everyone because we were
Mm.
told a few names, but he wasn't on that list. So
No,
they didn't get that right. But you know,
maybe that's a sign something is starting to change. I don't know.
hopefully.
Seeing from the outside, we're quite used to it being chaos in, for example, Cyprus, Greece, with the coaches being there for like a month and then
Yeah.
there's a new one. Maybe that's different with the Swedish sporting director. So that that probably helps that they can be on the same page. And since he's new as well, maybe that give them a good relationship and reason to stick together.
Mm.
It
And
would be
as for
maybe more difficult if there was a local sporting director who knows the press, and
for
if
sure,
there's
for sure.
mm,
Well, we had that with Mr. Berg, with Henning Berg, the
yeah,
sporting director was a former coach of Omonoia, believe it or not, but they worked well to a certain point.
mm.
As for transfers, now this is something that a lot of people have been talking about, the supporters anyway. We need signings in January because we've already made 10 signings already this season, but we need more. We need more. And I think we need a striker, me personally, anyway, but I said it at the beginning of the season. Now, I know this is a difficult question to answer, but I know that some coaches like to take players with them as well as their assistants. Do you think there are one or two names that perhaps Mr. Rekdal has worked with before and would think, well, I can bring them because maybe their contracts are running out or they'll be a good fit for the system?
Yeah, I spoke with Morten Bjørlo in Rosenborg, who's like one of the last players, Rekdal players. They're trying to sell him now, so he's like able to find a new club for free. So I told him that when he went to Gran Canaria with Rosenborg, you can just pack your bag and just go to Cyprus.
Cyprus,
So
yeah.
so we'll see. He took a few players that he had success with in HamKam with him to Rosenborg. So maybe that could happen again. I'm not sure. There's I'm trying to think if there's someone else in Rosenborg that's available right now. Nah, I'm not too sure, but maybe Morten Bjørlo is the one.
Possibly. You never know. You never know. Well, I know that Mr. Rekdal is a big name in Norway, but obviously these days you've got Odegaard at Arsenal, Haaland at Manchester City. Do you think there'll be much attention on Omonoia now that there's another Norwegian coach at the club?
Yeah, I think so. And I have to say also that Rekdal has been a football expert in our TV channel in VG, so we know him from that side as well. And he will also always have a really high profile because he scored the winning goal in 1998 for Norway against Brazil.
Brazil, yeah.
It's like one of I think maybe the biggest sports moment ever in Norway. So he will never lose that legendary status.
Brilliant. Well, I'm hoping he'll become a legend at Omonoia because, as I said before, many fans, they're not unhappy with him arriving. They're just more unhappy with the way that the previous head coach was sacked. And I think it's a little bit unfair to judge Mr. Rekdal based on that. You need to base him on what's occurring on the pitch. And from what I understand, the last two training sessions have been very, very good. They've been working on tactics, a system against the weekend's opponents. And it's looking promising. But, time will tell, as they say, But I'm excited. I'm
Just
excited.
take care of him and give him a lot of Coca-Cola with sugar. That's important. And he'll keep his smile up and his energy up. That's
Regular
the
Coke.
most important.
Regular Coke,
Yeah,
yeah.
regular Coke. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Mats, before we wrap it up, would you like to tell our listeners where they might be able to find you on any social media or any websites, anything like that?
Yeah, it's just on Twitter or Instagram, just the start of my name, just without the EN at the end of my name. So it will be quite easy. So it's just to
Excellent.
start to learn Norwegian, then it's
For sure.
then you can have some. But I'm not sure how much you will enjoy it.
Well, listen, it's football is an educational tool for everyone. I'm pretty sure that people will start following you because you're Norwegian football. So
Yeah,
I'll put everything all in the description. So thank you, Mats, for
we have
joining.
we have AI as well, so to translate, so
Oh
it's easier
yes,
now these days.
yes, Chat GPT.
Thank you
Lovely.
for having me.
Well, no, thank you for joining. Well, boys and girls, that's another episode of No Chuffs. Don't forget to like, subscribe. So, Nunas, we've got the members area, and we'll be doing the review of the Doxa game, which is Mr. Rekdal's first game this weekend. Ade, bamashilla kam.